Alright, I have another unboxing video for you guys. Ordered another Mustang product part from Late Model Restoration from the website. And it is the Gabriel shock and strut kit with the quad shocks. Because you can buy the shock and strut kit without the quad shocks, but I definitely want the whole thing to kind of do it once, do it right. Then I have to worry about it. So this is an OEM replacement, and I did some research on the Gabriel company, and per their website, they've been around since 1907, and they do supply a lot of the OEMs with their shocks and struts. So these actually do get put on a lot of OEM cars, if their website can be believed, at the OEM's factory. And of course the OEM will possibly rebrand them, put their stamping, their company name on them. But I want to do a little unboxing while I wait to be able to work on the Miata, so I can then finish the work that I'm doing currently on it, to then get it out of the garage and then get the Mustang in here. Because the Mustang is now 28 years old, just like me. We both came out of the factory in 95. Well, I guess the Mustang, mine technically came out of the factory in late 94. I came out early 95, so pretty close. And the quad shocks on my Mustang, I can't tell for sure if they're fully shot. All I know is that where the bolts go in to mount the quad shocks in the rear of my Mustang, I can tell you that the rubber bushing around the bolt is cracked in like 8 different places. It's that rubber, 28 years old. It's really shot, and it's really time to do this quad shock. Almost like a preventative maintenance, just so I don't have any issues of it. Something happening while I'm on the highway at 65 miles an hour. So this is what the quad shocks look like from Gabriel. And again, like I said, they are a U.S. company, and generally, if I can find a U.S. made part, I'll go with that. And the big reason I'm doing a like OEM replacement, like stock replacement, is because the neighborhood I live in has the most atrocious speed bumps you can imagine, and if I was any lower, I would scrape way worse than I already do scrape. So, this is just the current iteration of my Mustang, where I am just keeping it running, doing the maintenance. I did a catback exhaust, and as far as really any other mods go, I don't think I've really done many mods. I am hoping to do long tube headers and a nice maybe X pipe or H pipe. If I can find those parts in stainless to go along with my stainless catback, I'll have a full stainless exhaust and I'll be happy with that. But for right now, basically I got to keep the car running, and because I got the townhouse, and I can't have it all. I gotta wait. I'm in this period where I gotta just keep my already paid off cars continue to drive me from point A to point B to work and back. And any performance mods, that's just like for fun, so that'll have to come in the future. So, and of course the speed bumps, like I mentioned, in my neighborhood are atrocious. So this is what the quad shock looks like, and as you can see, we do have some nice fresh rubber bushings in there. Pushing on that is a definitely rubber. You can get I think a lot of the performance, there was like a performance quad shock for like $200, and I believe instead of rubber they might have been polyurethane bushings in there. But like I said, I'm just trying to keep the car going, and it has stock power. So once whenever I do a major, modification on the Mustang and try to go, more power in suspension, everything's gonna have to, like, the motor's gonna have to come out. It's gonna have to be, redone, refreshed. you know, all the seals and gaskets and stuff redone. Kind of similar to my 1990 Miata here, where it's got some consistent oil leaks and transmission leaks. So, you know, after, you know, almost 3 decades, you have to go through and reseal the motor up. And while you're in there, you might as well, you know, refresh your motor in all the ways that you do. So it looks like here they this is going to be the rear, looks like the rear shock that goes in the back. And I think you actually go open the trunk and you feed this into the trunk, and you'll thread the nut with the supporting hardware that they provide, and you'll thread that on. I think they have 2 flats on the end, because I believe you're supposed to hold with either a small wrench or an adjustable. Probably try to find the right wrench, because the adjustable does sometimes open up loose, like kind of get a little loose on you. I don't want to strip that. But this is the rear shock. You know, so far the quality looks pretty good. Actually, it's funny, if you actually look up close, it says made in Mexico, so not quite USA. So, but I'll take what I can get. This kit was $250 with everything you're going to see here. And I actually went and priced it all out on Rock Auto. And if you order every little thing separate on Rock Auto, it does come in $20 cheaper. But you have to, I'm sorry, it actually comes in at $213 versus $250, so call that $37 cheaper. Unfortunately, you have to pay for shipping is $19, and it does not come with the hardware kit. I don't believe you get all the nuts and bolts required, so you'd have to reuse your, you know, if you have a 95 like me or older, you know, 30-year-old hardware. And it just makes sense to get the hardware just in case I need it, because I don't want to run into an issue where the old hardware is, you know, either it's stripped out on the hex, or it's so rusted that it's just not worth reusing, or I don't feel safe about it. So that's what that is. So here's the whole kit, and unfortunately, yes. So on the website, I believe it does say made in USA, but everything that I have here in the garage from the kit does say made in Mexico. But you know, that's all I can do. I can just try to, you know, put it on, see how it does. The only thing I can do is try, because you know, the stock stuff, like I said, it's 28 years old now. Now the only other thing that I need to double check is either I read the listing wrong on LMR's website, but it did say it included a hardware kit. And if you look at this B-roll footage that I'm about to put in here, there is bolts in there, which I definitely need for the quad shocks. I know that bolts go through each of those, unless they're actually studs on the Mustang and I just thread on new nuts. But I actually don't even have any hardware for the quad shocks at all, any new hardware, because I got 4 separate baggies. These 2 baggies here are for the rear shocks, and I have just 1 new nut for each front strut. So I believe I'm potentially missing a hardware kit, because if you look on the listing, on the B-roll footage, it lists 2 struts, 2 shocks, 2 quad shocks, and 1 hardware kit. So either I'm misunderstanding that all these 4 bags add up to 1 hardware kit, but if you look in the picture of the B-roll footage, there's definitely bolts included in that hardware kit. Unfortunately, I don't have any bolts here, so, you know, it could just be my misunderstanding. I may double check with LMR, and you know, it's no big deal. I'm not in any rush to do this job. I was actually thinking about just starting with the quad shocks installed, because I'm worried about how brittle and cracked my old rubber bushings are in the factory quad shocks, and then getting in another video getting even more involved, or doing a separate video with the struts and rear shocks install. So we'll just get to that as I can. So but yeah, other than that, it seems to be a fairly decent kit. I mean, you know, $250, that's with tax included. Some of the other brands were $600, $700, $800, $1,000, and that's if basically if I wanted to lower the car and have a go for more of the performance route. But like I said, I'm not ready for that anytime soon, and I just really want to keep the car going. I love driving it and putting the miles on it. I don't want it to sit and kind of rust away. I was very fortunate to get my 95 for $1,500, and it's it's like barely has any rust on it at all. There's only some minor surface rust in the back on some non-critical components, and not even the frame at all. So this is where I'm at with the Mustang. 131,000 miles. If you have a Fox body Mustang or SN95 or New Age, please check on the current state of your quad shocks. Definitely the rubber bushings, and if you can, unbolt it and make sure your quad shock is still compressing and functioning semi decently, because you may, on these cars, you don't want one of these to fail while you're on the highway. So keep that in mind, and of course your shocks and your struts too. You don't want those to fail either. So definitely do some preventative maintenance on your older cars, and we will see how this kit does. So this can either be B-roll footage, or I'll give you my commentary here. This is the stock quad shock, and like I said, that rubber bushing, look at the state that it's in, and also look at the hardware. It appears to be, there's a nut, and I think it's actually part of that bigger bracket system, because there's no exposed bolt head on the other side of the nut. Let me flip my camera around actually. Yeah, even right in that slight gap there might be a nut in there, but I would have to take off this bracket with these two bolts here to get to that bolt head behind there. So you can see the rubber is just shot. So it's definitely time for this to be replaced. And if you look at the other end in there, the rubber is also shot. So time for replacement on the 95 GT.